Hello my friends, family, esteemed colleagues. This video is going to be about aneurysm. I spoke about the hernia. Well, aneurysm, it's basically the same thing, but depending on a different organ. So let's start by first checking what our experts say about it, the science. Okay, here we are again with our friends from Mayo Clinic, a very reputable medical facility that spreads around the science. So what do they say about aneurysm? Well, in this case, brain aneurysm, but let's just forget about the word brain. Let's just go aneurysm, right? So aneurysm is basically when artery becomes fragile, weak, and starts bulging under pressure. Now this bulge, this is why they also tell you brain aneurysm, common brain aneurysm, and serious, especially if, well, why is brain aneurysm serious? Because it is weakened artery, and artery can burst, creating bleeding into the brain, tamponade, and stroke. But in general, aneurysm, as you can see here, could be that the whole artery is affected in the whole diameter, so it like balloons up. But then you can have aneurysm where basically you have just one side of artery being affected, bulges out and creates like a bubble on this one side. Now they of course give it a name, sacral aneurysm or a berry aneurysm, and fusiform aneurysm is the one I told you about. And now mycotic aneurysm, what is it caused by? This here I do not agree with anyway. Now symptoms, we have no symptoms. Okay, you have no clue that you have aneurysm until it bursts. So, and there we go, ruptured aneurysm, nausea, vomiting, again, if it's in the brain. If it's in the heart, you croak. If it's in another part of organ, you have internal bleeding. So, it could be also leaking, that doesn't burst like all of a sudden, but it like sweats, like blood is, because it's a weakened wall of artery, and blood may start seeping through it. I will explain this later. What do we have? Unruptured aneurysm, okay. You can feel it as a pain, dilate pupils. Okay, this is all unimportant here, as is this. From Mayo Clinic, okay. Causes, okay, what is the cause? Brain aneurysm are caused by thinning artery wall. This actually is not true. Aneurysm often form at forks of branches, or branches. Okay, I will explain when I talk about the aneurysm, I will explain where and why. Risk factors. Okay, so who is at risk? Older age people. Okay, that's normal. Being female. Now, cigarette smoking, high blood pressure. Okay, one symptom. If you are in the risk of getting another symptom. Again, I've proved many times that one symptom does not affect another symptom. All symptoms are affected by a same cause. Now, what is the cause? Cigarette smoking could be nicotine, right? Pollution, drug use, particularly cocaine. Any drug, especially medicinal remedies, will put you at risk. Alcohol, of course, any toxin. Policy says, okay, that's never after family history, family history, of course, genetic, baloney. It may occur, very seldom. And the genes will be fixed as soon as you start treating your body correctly and not repeating the same stupid things your parents do if they have this problem or one of them. Okay, risk factor of rupture aneurysm, the larger it is, more likely it's going to explode. Okay, so this is the complications, complication when it bursts. Prevention, okay, prevention. In many cases, brain aneurysm can't be prevented. Lie. Because, of course, for doctors, this is true, they have been told, because they don't know nothing about the body and they have no clue even why it occurs. So, of course, they cannot prevent it. So let's go to diagnosis and treatment. What do they say about this? Diagnosis, sudden heavy severe headache. Well, this is when it ruptures. So you don't, until it ruptures, you have no symptoms. So then scans and all the stuff that you can see then finally what is causing the problem, this doesn't matter. Screening, okay, treatment, repairing ruptured aneurysms. Okay, so treatment, no prevention, and treatment comes only, okay, if you have a bad aneurysm in a very bad spot, then you are at a risk. If it ruptures, you can get stroke. So if you are young enough, strong enough, again, it's always risky to go to try to fix it because you can create more damage and the patient may die on the table. So nobody wants to operate it unless it is crucial or critical or it has burst already. So let's go and quickly fix the place. So this is basically what you will hear from your doctor. Now, okay, so now why does, you see, here they are demonstrating where often you have aneurysm occurring. On bifurcation, when one artery is splitting, branching. Okay, now why is this spot here? Okay, so when you have a weakened walls of arteries, then you have a blood shooting through artery and all of a sudden hits the two narrower channels. So there is an additional buildup of pressure. Additional buildup of pressure where it is the strongest, this is where a weak artery wall is going to give in and you are going to start having rupture here on inner layer. Muscles are brittle. It will go through the flat muscles and hopefully they get stopped by the outer layer of the artery. Now, I will show you on different example what I'm talking about. So, I know here is artery. So as you can see, this is the inner part where blood is floating, and you have a inner layer, the endothelium, which is created by cells. Now when these cells are dehydrated, they lose tension, they become brittle. In area where if pressure suddenly increases, if the whole blood vessel is affected, there is no bifurcation, it's just maybe blood pressure, maybe vessel is making a turn here, you can build up of a back pressure may cause this wall basically to give in, and then you have the elastin, which is not really working well when it's dry, so it will keep the vessel rigid, but if it breaks through, then you have the muscle. These are the flat muscles which normally keep these inner layers secure, because it provides a wall that is properly tensioned. It's like the armature. So now what happens is, when you have cellular dehydration, I explained when I talk about hernia that muscles become brittle and they lose tension. So these flat muscles that go around artery will, when they are dehydrated, same as the muscle of the endothelium, they are going to become brittle. They will not be able to hold the tension, and under increased pressure they can rupture. So basically you have a blood passing the endothelium, hits, breaks everything, goes through the wall because it's not holding it together, so it makes a bulge, and it breaks through, and hopefully the external, the tunica externa of blood vessel, the exothel, is going to hold it intact so you don't bleed. And this is how the bulge happens. Now, I explained on a bifurcation, like here, it can happen as well, because when the blood shoots here, now all of a sudden the space becomes limited because it narrows into two, and increased pressure in the center here may break through the wall and make a bulge here and create aneurysm in between the two blood vessels. This is the most common type of aneurysm that happens, especially when brain is concerned, but also around the heart. Now, aneurysm of arteries, coronary arteries, are as equally dangerous as the ones in the brain, because there is a very high blood pressure there, regularly. Of course, you are in higher risk of having problem with aneurysms if your blood pressure is high. But why? Because blood pressure increases when you lose elasticity. You lose elasticity of arteries because they are dry. If they are dry, you have now fragile walls, fragile muscle, and easily can break. So the culprit is not high blood pressure. Culprit is whatever is causing this dehydration, which I explain always are the blood toxins. Okay, so let's forget about experts and let's have a little chat around it. Okay, so as I showed you, doctors do not understand actually why aneurysm occurs. They know, okay, it's a weak spot on artery, and why is it weak? Well, they go for statistics. Well, usually it happens in older people, so age has something to do with it. It happens a lot with smokers, so smokes have something to do with it. It happens very often with drug addicts, so the drugs must have to do something with it. Well, we are talking about toxic blood, and doesn't matter what makes the blood toxic. And here we can have plants. Toxic plants can do the same thing. Okay, and we see it running in family. Now, why? Because they eat the same food, they have the same habits. Now, genes react to the environment, so if blood is toxic, genes will react to it and give a signal to the cells what to do to survive in this toxicity. So body is going to be adjusting. It can never fully adjust, and every adjustment is actually causing misalignment in other ways. And this has to be taken in consideration. So increased toxicity of a mother that already created, let's say, aneurysm in a mother. Now you have this genetic preparedness for this kind of toxicity. Now this mother conceived, so the fetus is growing up in the same toxic body of a woman. Slightly less toxic because toxins are being shielded away because of placenta, but not all of them. Many toxins go through placenta, and they will affect the growing fetus. So of course, genetically the fetus is already growing in an environment of this possibility. So if the baby is born, it already is going to have weakness of arteries. Now it doesn't mean that this now is it for the life. If such a baby is allowed to cleanse, then this shifts and arteries become reinforced. Now when babies start suckling mother's milk, milk usually is cleaner than even the blood was in mother's tomb, and now baby is receiving more of a fats and plasma, and if it's toxic, it will go into detox. It will develop diarrhea. Well, when baby have diarrhea, this becomes big taboo. Oh, baby should not have diarrhea. We gotta stop this. So it's being jammed with antibiotics, and to stop the diarrhea. And yes, it will stop the diarrhea, but it will lock all these toxins in the body. There is no cleansing going on, and actually further toxicity will be encouraged through toxic medication. And such a baby, of course, it is going to develop this problem much earlier in age than her mother did. But if the baby is allowed to purge, so allowed to have diarrhea, and actually help it, so give the baby on the side of having mother's milk, well, mother's milk should be checked. Mother should not be taking anything that is going to be excreted through her milk and could be toxic. So no medication for sure, not spices, not Lugol's iodine, because it is going to show up in the milk. It is going to poison the baby. Okay? No smokes, no alcohol. All this is going to go through milk and affect the baby. Caffeine, nicotine, alcohol. So this is what a woman has to be aware of, that when lactating, when feeding her baby, she has to try to stay as clean as possible. And then if baby is toxic and having a runny nose even as a child, mucus building up and having diarrhea, well, on top of the milk, if the milk is good, if the woman has toxic milk because she is receiving medical treatment, I had clients that the women had mastitis and during breastfeeding time. So was on antibiotics while I was breastfeeding the baby. This baby is most likely going to develop serious chronic health issue. Very often diabetes comes right from there, from this influence of very toxic antibiotic that is being then fed into the baby through mother's milk. Now, doctors have no clue because they're clueless in general. But the knowledge we receive in medical school is pathetic. It is not a knowledge. It is misguidance. And of course it shows more doctors, more disease. should be the other way around, don't you think? So the baby has to be allowed to cleanse. If mother is toxic, if mother does not want to do correct thing, well, give the baby goat milk. Give it cow's milk, but dilute it, because cow's milk is a little bit too strong. It's for animal that grows very fast. So baby is gonna get chunky. It's too much fat in that milk. Goat's milk is great, but again, cow's milk can be done, but dilute it. Forget about baby formulas. They are all toxic. Purposely, they have glucose in it. They add glucose purposely to this to change the genetic expression. So baby formulas, stay away. If you can find another woman lactating, get milk from her. So if you have a dog, big dog that has a puppies, yeah, have your baby suck on that. It's much healthier than using toxic mother's milk or baby formula, toxic baby formula. The main thing is that the baby has to be encouraged to cleanse. So even give it in a bottle, give it some, you can use milk, but put some plasma in it, some additional water and salt. Or if you can make baby drink before you feed the baby, just give it some plasma to suck on. And then when the baby doesn't want any more of that, then give her milk. But it is very important to help the baby to cleanse. And then you are actually preventing development of this particular problem, and not only this problem, all chronic diseases. And for God's sake, do not allow this to be done to your baby. You know, for sake of YouTube, I cannot mention many things. But avoid any of those things. We don't need them. Purpose of those is to undermine health. It doesn't show when organism is young because it's relatively well hydrated and low voltage, cellular voltage is relatively high, so there's no shift going on. But these things, when they are put in the babies, they have much higher concentration than the same things push in adults. Why? Because in adult that is already toxic, it may create immediate reaction. And this is big no-no. You cannot put anything visible that it shows immediately that it is caused by whatever you are doing. It has to be timely separated. So you can say, yeah, well, luckily you got that, because if you didn't get that, then now you would be dead. And this way you only have symptoms. Well, most children get the symptoms after they receive this. And then they are being told, can you imagine what would happen without it? Schmucks, doctors, schmucks, wake up. I have to say it because doctors genuinely, a lot of them genuinely believe that what they are being told in medical school is true. I have friends. They thought that, it is also very dangerous. They have to be protected. Now they are on the verge of croaking. So, if doctors do not wake up now when things are so visible, there is no chance for them waking up anywhere, anytime, in any situation, because it cannot be more in a phase than it is now. Well, talking back about the aneurysm, aneurysms can be prevented. If you have aneurysm because you have been scanned, usually it's being done to children of parents who have aneurysm. They are being scanned earlier in life, and often aneurysms are being found because of the, I just explained, same circumstances. Well, these people can be helped by hydrating and cleansing on a cellular level. It has to be on a cell, not just the blood, it has to be on a cellular level because they are already damaged on cellular level. Now, blood pressure has absolutely nothing to do with it. Of course, if you have a weakened arterial wall, higher blood pressure has more chance to penetrate through it. But you have to live your life. So the better thing is to go and hydrate so your cells can cleanse, and circulatory system can get fixed pretty rapidly and will be reinforced if it cannot be completely, because this is now bulge, so the bulge may stay, but you can, by cellular hydration, you can actually reinforce the tension, muscle tension. And same as you can close hernia through hydration, umbilical hernia or stomach hernia, you can close and reinforce the aneurysm. Now, why don't we see it? Because nobody is doing this. Doctors have no clue about cellular hydration and cellular cleansing. They still think that thick blood means polycythemia. Your body is making too many blood cells. It doesn't dawn to them that there is a lack of plasma. And this is why you have thick blood and polycythemia. Because in the same cubic space of liquid, if you have less plasma, you will have less of whatever else is left besides plasma, which is cells. You put more plasma, you have less cells. So, polycythemia as a disease, as an uncontrollable production of blood cells, being it erythrocytes, leukocytes, monocytes, whatever you want to mention, it doesn't occur. It is only, are you having more or are you having less plasma in the blood? So thinning blood you can only do by increasing blood plasma, not by loading the body with blood thinners, which are actually anticoagulants. They don't thin blood. They prevent coagulation, which leads to stroke, which I explained in other videos. So, as far as aneurysms go, this is no-brainer. It's straightforward. Of course, people that are elderly and they have aneurysms, well, it's very difficult now because the whole body is very toxic. They do suffer from high blood pressure. Why? Because the arteries are rigid and prone to breaking. Such a people, you can just hold their arm a little bit tighter, like, oh, watch what you are doing, you know. And by you squeezing a little bit, you may burst a bunch of little arteries, and you may have profound bleeding there because all elderly are put on aspirins or other anticoagulants. So the bleeding, the broken artery doesn't stop bleeding, it just keeps bleeding, and you have these big blue and green marks that spread through the body. This is a big sign that you are in a danger. because more than increased blood pressure, it's the sudden shaking. I have a friend here, just died a week ago by falling on the floor from height of 1 meter. But unfortunately, on tiles with the back of a head. But what happened? The whole brain shifted. Why? He was a heavy smoker, many chronic problems, very dehydrated, thin. His tissue, all tissue in the body, muscles, connective tissue, everything was dehydrated with low tension, and any sudden movement just causes rupture. Somebody may come to someone like this and just stab them in the back of the head saying, "Hey brother, how are you doing?" Friendly tap, boom. They may have same thing happening, dislodging brain. Okay? This is why also boxers, older they are, in more danger they are, that they are going to have problem either with eye retina being dislodging from hits or brain, because they are more and more toxic, more and more dehydrated on cellular level, which means the tissue is more and more brittle, and they are prone to these things. This is a normal thing. We have this disease called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, loose joint syndrome. So I spoke about it also. It's a beautiful sign of dehydration. Happened to me. Goes to a point that you try to chew and the whole jaw is clicking because it's coming, it's moving in its seat, it's coming in and out. It's you move your head, clack, clack, clack. You move your shoulder, everything is making noise because dehydrated tissue, muscles, tendons, connective tissue, blood vessels, everything in your body when dehydrates loses tension and becomes brittle. You can easily break muscle, you can easily break tendon, you can easily dislocate. Usually people start dislocating their hip, very often the ankles or knee, shoulder, and many people start actually dislocating the vertebra, spine, by the disc of cartilage starts moving because there's no tension to holding it in place. All this can be prevented through proper hydration and avoiding toxins. This is why I always recommend, if you don't know, just follow the self-healers protocol, because this is a protocol that guides you in correct hydration and correct diet so your body can cleanse, hydrate, and heal itself. It is made to do it by itself, and only body can heal you. There is no medication that is going to help you healing. It will just suppress the symptoms. So it will take down the pain, it may take down inflammation, it may take basically this is it, taking down pain and inflammation, and diuretic, taking out liquid from your body. Most analgesics, stopping pain in general. Those are all things done through medicinal remedies, being it medicinal plants or pharmaceutical poisons. They're all poisons. So don't pride yourself, alternative medicine practitioners. Don't pride yourself, oh, these allopathic doctors, they know nothing. I'm doing much better job with my plants. You're doing the same damn thing. You're poisoning the body. You are not healing it. And in time, this will show, because symptoms will become more and more evident and stronger, to the point where they can no longer be suppressed. The only way is hydration and cleansing and stopping poisoning the body, especially with medicinal remedies. And remember, spices we use for food originate from Ayurvedic Indian medicine as herbs. And as they were spread around, people start liking them and start using them. So you want to hydrate on cellular level, you cannot have herbs. 0 herbs. And you are limited to animal products. Plants, all plants, are toxic to us. I have videos on that, I have articles about it, and not only me, just look through internet. There are plenty of people, and more. The truth is coming out. Anyway, so much about aneurysms. You know, being an aneurysm or diverticulitis, diverticulum of intestines, same damn thing. Only not caused by increased blood pressure or for the pouch to happen, but actually harder, dried piece of excrement and spasmic movement of intestines will create pouch. It breaks through the endothel and affects the muscles, causes bulging. Same thing. Solution, same one. Hydrate, cleanse, allow body to repair itself. Thank you. Till next time. Love you all.